Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. Welcome back to VALORANT Rostermania, and it is certainly not over just yet. ShahZaM is released from Sentinels, it seems, based on a tweet last night, or at least inducted into their Hall of Fame, but he doesn't seem so happy about it, and Marved also giving his perspective on the fact that he could join Evil Geniuses, but would much rather not. Very much into your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. It really helps out the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that. Well, many people have been trying to figure out where the harbour could be viable. This is one interesting way to potentially use his smoke, because obviously you can't shoot through it, right? It kind of tanks bullets. So if you use it in certain positions, you can actually use it kind of like as a head glitch, right? So you can actually kind of use it as cover here. So thought that was an interesting potential use of this going forwards. This though from Leviathan confirming that Mazzino will be a new player for their roster. So yeah, definitely a good pickup. We've heard a lot of these things rumoured over the last several days, but yeah, indeed Mazzino's going to be joining Leviathan as we expected. This update also from Excel. They have decided not to continue with their Valorant roster. So they're not going to do tier 2. This is a big question which is going around right now in terms of teams that failed to make it into partnerships. Will they actually stick around in tier 2? Some will, some probably won't. Of course, FaZe, The Guard, version 1, TSM, we think that they will. But in Europe, let's say teams like Excel, they're going to be pulling out. They're not going to do tier 2 Valorant. The interesting thing is they're going to do Game Changers Valorant. They're keeping their Game Changers team, which is it's really interesting to me, the fact that these teams would much rather have a Game Changers team than even have a tier 2 team. I guess the way that Riot's got it set up makes it feel to them like there's more upside in having the Game Changers team than having the tier 2 squads. But yeah, it's very interesting to me that a lot of teams are actually doing this now. They're quite happy with their Game Changers roster, but they'd much rather not go for the tier 2 route and try and pick up a player that way. So yeah, they will be competing in Game Changers, but not actually in in the tier 2 Valorant scene in Ascension, trying to make it into tier 1. So quite interesting that some organizations might be feeling like this, and Excel certainly are one of them. This also from Heretics. Lowell is going to be on his way out of the team. Mixwell, of course, joining. That's raised big questions as to exactly what Heretics are going to plan to do for their full roster. And yeah, Lowell apparently is going to be on the way out as well, confirmed in this tweet longer last night. This just to say from Split as well, he points this out to me, that there's this Knights tourney coming up soon, and in Group M, you can actually see that Stewie2k is playing in this with Rossi. So some questions here on what's going to happen with Stewie2k, what his plan is going to be. I think himself and even Shroud kind of said, you know what, if they can get a tier 1 spot, they'll go for it, but that's not going to happen, to be honest, right? Because there were so many players that have dominated at times in the VCT over the past year or two that aren't going to get in, let alone players like Stewie and Shroud that haven't really done that much at this level in Valorant and that will have to prove themselves over time. So yeah, Stewie2k going to try and compete though. What does it look like for him in terms of tier 2 Ascension? What spot will he get? That's why Rostermania is far from over, because yes, we might have a relatively good idea of what's happening in tier 1, but tier 2, it's all yet to kick off really, and we don't know the Shroud, the Stewie2k questions that are still out there. And speaking of some of those great players, this is the list that George Geddes put together. Of course, not all encompassing. There's other players you could throw into the mix here as well in terms of, guys like Penny or whatever that might be getting underrated. But just look at this list. Trent, Valin, Tex, Net, Jonah, EU, Zoms, dapr, ShahZaM, babybay, BCJ, Marved, Xander, Whippy. All of these names may well not be on a partner team next season. We know that Marved is going to take a break, it seems, from that side of things. To me, which names would you guys pick out of this in terms of the guys that you're surprised don't get a spot and guys that deserve a spot that won't have one? To me, I think Trent comes to mind, to be perfectly honest. I'm very much surprised that he wasn't getting picked up. I think that, in my opinion, there were players the likes of, Cryo and Zekken and these guys from Exit, and I honestly thought that Trent from The Guard was not too far behind in terms of that category, and I'm very surprised he's not got a spot somewhere. Valin, probably his IGL is getting somewhat underrated, and then I've got the former Sentinels core, Zoms, dapr, ShahZaM. You'd have thought that maybe dapr, for example, would have got a spot somewhere. Even BCJ, I think, certainly deserved one somewhere, but now seems like that's not going to happen unless he can still join EG, but that looks unlikely because Ethan's going to be there, potentially Superman's going to be there, BCJ might end up joining TSM or something on their kind of tier 2 Ascension roster. So yeah, crazy situation. But yeah, ShahZaM, of course, babybay even as well. babybay, Dicey, wasn't included here. Also B-Dog and the like from Shopify Rebellion. These type of players that are so good in their respective roles not getting picked up. So you could very much argue that the tier 1 scene in North America is, well, incredibly stacked in terms of some of the players that are in these teams, let's say. But also, what does this mean for tier 2? Because I think honestly that the Ascension League in North America is going to be crazy stacked, especially if these players plan to and decide to compete, if there are organizations to support them. Because, I mean, look, a lot of these old Sentinels guys could form a team and run it back to a certain extent, and we'll see what ShahZaM has to say on stuff like that here in a second. Even Zyppan, though, says from Cloud9, I only see a handful who deserve it, right? So yeah, definitely tweet your thoughts on which out of those names actually do deserve it. He reckons maybe even 4 or 5, I mean, what's a handful, right? 3, 4, 5 of those guys he reckons actually do deserve a spot, and you can probably imagine which players he might think to be excluding from that particular list. This also from BCJ, brick by brick, I've been paving my path back to the top. You think I'm going to stop now that I'm here? So, you know, brick by brick, of course, is OpTic's thing, but like OpTic also a big question for them. We don't know. Are they going to be a tier 2 team? Are they going to be an Ascension? We don't know. We don't have an announcement. They don't have a Game Changers team or anything. They might just say, you know what, right, you know, I've had enough of this, I'm getting out of here. But they could build a very competitive tier 2 roster with the players out there if they wanted to. But of course, they've lost a lot of their staffing around the team because they've gone into tier 1. So yeah, difficult for a lot of these organizations. We think BCJ potentially to TSM, as I said. That was one of the rumors that was going around yesterday. Now, this from Thwifo. He was meant to be joining T1 and while staying in their roster going into the new season, but due to the import situation, they couldn't make it happen. Thwifo is instead going to be joining a team as a substitute, and he's going to go to NRG, according to George Geddes. NRG is set to sign Thwifo to the VALORANT roster. He's going to be the 6th man. Really interesting stuff. All these teams have to confirm a 6th man for the team in due course. We know that NRG are going to be, well, Som, Victor, Crashies, FNS, and Artist. That's the team of 5, yet to be confirmed. Thwifo, the 6th man over there, that is the present rumor. Like, interesting stuff for sure. I didn't really have Thwifo in my minds in that conversation, but yeah, kind of crazy the fact that Thwifo was a name that I wasn't really thinking about too much, and yet he's going to get a 6th man spot. But yet a lot of these other players, like, you know, where are they going to be? What are they going to do that we just mentioned, right? And also, can Thwifo play in Ascension? Can he play in tier 2 despite being a substitute, right? You kind of need, right, to allow that to be a possibility, because if you're Trent or something, like, do you want to be a sub for a team if you can't play in tier 2? You probably don't. Now, one of the big things that was confirmed yesterday here by Sentinels, so of course it was a little bit ago now, they confirmed that ShahZaM is not going to be part of their team going forwards. I guess he's still part of Sentinels to some degree, but they say right here, the Sentinels Hall of Fame, ShahZaM, under your leadership we became champions, you changed the way the game is played, you brought pride back to North American esports. Wherever you go, your legacy will always be a part of this team. Once a Sentinel, always a Sentinel. They come up with this right here, so kind of nice. Hall of Fame, ShahZaM, in-game leader, international champion. So just giving credit to what ShahZaM did for the team, but of course over time it was clear that he, you know, his tenure as IGL was going to come to an end. Little bit interesting to me the way that they say, like, you know, wherever you go, your legacy will always be a part. Kind of saying like, you know, goodbye, it's been nice having you, and off you go to your new organization. Now, whether that is actually happening here, like, it's not like they've officially released him or anything, but you know, I guess they're expecting ShahZaM to go to a new team or to a tier 2 roster or something. Maybe he will, maybe he won't, I don't really know. But I just wanted to share his reaction to this, because he didn't quite seem particularly happy about it, right? He was looking at this thinking, oh wow, yeah, I'm a Hall of Famer, real nice guys, like, thanks for dropping me type thing. So I don't know, do you think that this attitude has anything to do with the fact that he no longer actually has a spot on the team, or is it more about, you know, that competitive nature is necessary if you want to be the best in the world?
Like that game?
Dim got dropped on Sentinels. Check Twitter. Really? Oh my god. Okay, I'll check it out. That's crazy. Wow, how unfortunate. Guys, that just became a Hall of Famer. What do you think?
Yeah, I did see that.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. That's much appreciated.
I was rooting for you, bro.
Thank you, bro. Appreciate you, Cook.
Going to tier 2? Probably not. Unless a tier 2 team lets me play from home and they pay me a good amount, I'll play. Sure. And it depends what the roster is. I could have gained a lot more followers, if you guys know what that means too. I could have joined probably the worst team in the league, if y'all know what that means too.
The other clip that I shared there was on Marved, right? Talking about his decisions and what he's deciding to do going forwards. And also kind of saying towards the end there about Evil Geniuses and the fact that, well, yeah, he could join the worst team in the franchise league if he wanted to probably, but would prefer not to do that, right? He even said a while ago, like, he's not going to join EG. So I know some of you guys have been saying, is this whole I'm going to take take a break thing more about saving face? Is it more about trying to, you know, maybe he had offers and now he doesn't have offers anymore, and now he's like, well, you know, I'm taking a break. It's my personal decision to do that, rather than the fact that, yeah, he probably would have gone to Sentinels if that offer was still there. Maybe he wanted more money. Maybe he wanted to take some time to think. That's what people have been theorizing. And then the spot disappears when they got the Brazilian guys in from Loud instead. So whether there's any validity to that, I don't really know. But Marved also says tier 2, he probably won't do it unless he can stay at home. So, you know, he's committed to this kind of idea that, yeah, he wants to stick around his family, take care of whatever he's got to take care of personally, and then he's going to be good to go once again in due course. So I think that's good stuff from Marved. Happy to see that, you know, he's making this decision for himself, but at the same time, that probably means no tier 2 for Marved, unless, of course, a team allows him to stay where he is and play online, rather than having to travel out to LA or wherever that might be. So does that mean Marved is indeed going to take at least an entire season's break? Will he be back in due course? Tough to say. And as we did discuss Sentinels quickly, just wanted to mention this because the second says, please stop asking about the language barrier. We communicate with sign language. So lots of stuff happening and coming out from the Sentinels camp the last couple of days where, yes, they reckon the comms are going to be absolutely fine. Pancada's English does, you know, it's operable, but, you know, he's not so confident in using it in videos and stuff like this. It is the present situation, and ShahZaM, I'm sure, will be a big help on that front as well. And look, the organization obviously has confidence, their communication will be fine, but still, it is a big question because it's happened with other teams in the past as well. You get players from many different countries, different cultures, and how well things clash and work together, and Dephh is going to have, I think, a big job here as the IGL. So one of the key questions about Sentinels, they're obviously shooting it down here with these couple of tweets, and look, there's a long time until the franchise league begins, but very much enjoy your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.